this will stand for free your mind and your soul. Yo, half the story has never been told. Ladies, you got to demand what you want, and what we want is respect, right? Yo, just sit up on the track, I know so you have to feel with it right. Freedom every time for the sisters. Check this. Watch this.
Here we go now. Listen, if I'm boom boom rule, I be the ruler like Slick Rick. Get with this quick-witted Adidas wearing chick. Papa got a brand new bag. Mama got a brand new Jag or go tag. I ain't no old hag. I represent not only in the kitchen, in the bedroom, but also in the boardroom. So give me more room. Deny my opportunity, you in jeopardy. Yo, set me free, don't hinder me, let me be.
I'm fighting for freedom, I got the heat in case you need them. Straight soldier, ain't nobody told ya. Hold up on them lies, I know your games and your plans.
Hello everybody, we are live on both Clubhouse and Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube, and welcome to another Thursday, another European Book Slam, and we have got a very special treat for you guys tonight. We have got a very interesting person who's going to be joining us very soon. Before we get started, I wanted to first of all make sure that everyone on here was okay and that everyone was happy, and we're going to get straight into it. So now then, one of the things that I wanted to share with you tonight, guys, is we have got a very special guest, and her name is Wild Thoughts, and she is going to be sharing with us things called, let's just say she's a sex therapist, and she's going to be sharing with us some of her thoughts and her ideas and her experiences, and probably making some of us blush more than others. One of the things that we're going to do is we're going to start the show. We normally start with a reading. So I'm going to open up with a very, very short bit from one of my books, just to open up with the first couple of minutes to get us started. So this is part of my book 2 from my Ray series, which is all to do with trauma, mental health and recovery, and how to move forward from that, but with sort of fantasy backdrop, which means that it kind of lessens the impact of mental health and trauma, because it softens it with the characters and the world building, and anyone who writes fantasy and science fiction is very aware of how the world building is so important. And one of the things that happens in the story is Ray is put through the ringer. Book 1 starts off with war outbreak, and one of the problems with that, as we all know, is there's lots of losses. So one of the things that we're going to look at is how that affects the lead character. So I'm only going to read you a very short excerpt from it. Okay. Where was he? I needed to speak with Tristan about what I'd found out and what I'd heard Jade say last night. I'd already been to Tristan's, but he wasn't at home. So I trekked to the glade to speak with Talos, who had informed me that Tristan was at the market with Callian due to a dispute between the Solians and Tintrians. However, unlike the riot I'd imagined when I'd arrived there, it was relatively calm. There were so many people here. Some had tattoos in their arms and necks, others with thick furs and decorative beads in their beards and hair. As I made my way through the mass of people gathered in the market, Tristan's red cowl stood out. He was leaning against one of the stone cabins that flanked the staging area, just watching everyone. Deep worry lines aged him beyond his already aged years as he scanned the crowd, checking for any threats. All I could think of was how Jade was the one who had engineered the gateway, who had betrayed us and the others to the envoy. I spent most of the night trying to decipher what he meant by tunnel, which pointed to one of only two things: a separate tunnel from the passage or the gateway to the keep. How could I have been so stupid not to know it was him. Jade had the means to build the gateway, as he had access to the information in the outpost. He must have learned more than he was sharing, because he had not seemed surprised by the information the Tau had shown. He knew where the children would be. He knew where the children were going to be kept. The whole town knew him and potentially had the time to coordinate the abduction. Nudging Tristan's elbow, I whispered in his ear, "Hey, we need to talk. It's urgent." "Not now, Ray. If we're not careful, we'll have a civil war on our hands here." The rejection stung a little, but as I observed the crowd, it was clear to see the hostilities between the factions. Shouts and jeers echoed through the square, a sound that was forever linked to the demise of Surrey and etched into my memory. The refugees and natives, each remaining within their tribal group, were hurling abuse and taunts at one another, their voices so loud that I could make out what they were saying to one another. The refugees sounded like they were demanding free trade with the market holders, but the townsfolk were against that. One nearby antagonist was jabbing his tattooed arm toward the refugees and threatening to slaughter his family and tribe. "What do I do?" I asked Tristan as we both stared at the melee unfolding before us. He shrugged. "What can we do? They all need to feel safe, but we're running out of food and supplies. The refugees, well, from what I've heard so far, don't want to go home, but cannot because of the Sparta frost keeping them here, so they feel trapped." I grabbed his arm and whispered to him, "You know that Callian wants to send the refugees into the mountains, don't you?" His jaw clenched and he avoided my gaze. "You knew?" Still with my hand clasped around his arm, I glared at him, taking a step away from him at the horror of this deception. Why didn't you tell me? You already knew. What would that have done? Besides, you already know what it's like not to be free. There's no wonder the tribes are clashing." He was right. Being imprisoned in the mountains was only a much larger cell. What kept me going was when I was in the cell and drove me to murder. It was my only desire to free Nayli. That's the only reason why I did it. The image of my old home rushed through my mind. My horse, Duke, the cherry trees in the blossom, and the secret room with the books. Going home was all I'd wanted to do too. But even if there was a home to return to, I couldn't leave. I was stuck here, same as they were. Callie must have known this was going to happen. If I could find something that both tribes could focus on together, perhaps I might be able to stop this. They just needed something that would give them purpose. "Hey," he tilted his head, and a wry smile formed on his lips, and he gave a slight shake of his head. "I know that look, Ray. What are you thinking?" "I have an idea that might help stop this escalation, but I'm not sure it would work." "Go on." He folded his arms and raised his eyebrows. "If they had something to work towards, a goal that makes both Solians and the refugees work together, it could mean that they would stop fighting each other." And his face brightened. "Yeah, that might work. But what would be the goal?" "Well, what saw me through and keeps me going is that I made a promise that I'd return to someone dear to me who is being kept prisoner in the same castle I had somehow escaped from. I intend to keep that promise. And it might, perhaps, simultaneously end the reign of terror utilised by the envoy. You're talking about their stronghold in the keep, aren't you? I see, but how does your situation relate to theirs?" He frowned and stared at the crowd. "Because we all have the same enemy." "The envoy," he looked at me, an eagerness on his face. "Perhaps they'd be interested in your offer then." He nodded at the wooden platform similar to the stage in the market in Surrey where Callian stood, glaring at the people before him as if wishing them away or leaving an awful taste in his mouth. He appeared to be trying to calm them down, but none were listening to him. Why would they? My people knew what he thought of them. "Perhaps the people need to be spoken to differently," Tristan suggested. With a slight shrug. He was right, and it was what we'd both been alluding to, and he gave me an almost imperceptible nod. Gulping hard, I walked to the steps that led to the podium. My foot froze on the bottom step, and I glanced back at Tristan, who dipped his head again. It gave me a tiny boost in confidence, and I continued up the ladder. Butterflies brought a cold, clammy sweat onto my hands. The battle on Scald was more comfortable than this, and the Rakshasas were easier to fight. Wringing my hands together, I chewed my lip. What if they don't listen? You can do this. Just be present. With trepidation, I stepped out onto the stage. Next to Callian, he looked up at me and looked down at me, and he scowled. Ignoring him, I went to his side and faced the crowd. Callian coughed next to me and banged the bottom of his staff on the stage, his mouth open to protest against my intrusion, but I pretended I didn't see him. Callian, the people need to hear her. They need to hear her story. Tristan's voice carried through the cacophony with a firm tone. Callian answered to him. Tristan was a commander. If Tristan supported me with this, I'd made a powerful ally, and the commanders would be the only way to get back to the keep. If Ray talks to them, it might bring something they need, something we all need right now. Hope, Tristan added, and that's the only path to peace. Callian gave another indignant cough as he stepped away from me. His voice was sour and demeaning. Go on then. I'm curious to see you fail. Tristan nodded up at me, and I cast him a grateful smile. Cupping his hands to his mouth, he shouted to the crowd. Listen to her! A loud whistle from the other side of the square pierced through the noise. The crowd hushed, and a sea of faces peered up at me, studying me, waiting for me to speak. Here we go. Just like shooting an arrow. Breathe and take it slow. You know, looking at you all now, we're not so different. Some of you might know me from Enepe. Others might benefit from the encampment in the forest. As I spoke, the crowd hushed to listen. You see, I belong to both tribes, to the people of Solus Tintri and Mon Solis. I was born in Surrey, but my family were born here. Two tribes have lived separately since the First War, over 2,000 years ago, a war which divided the nation in two. We've lived in fear of one another, afraid that each other is the enemy. Yet here we are, together, united not by choice, but by a common foe. As I walked along the front of the stage, watching the sea of faces that stared up at me, the words tumbled into my head. They needed to be the right ones. I couldn't mess this up. In front of me was a mix of both cultures, some painted with tribal tattoos, others covered with scarves made from silk or linen. So only the eyes showed. Others had piercings that adorned their eyebrows, noses and lips. Both groups had a wide range of skin tones reflecting human existence's beautiful essence, but all wore furs and leather to stave off the cold. The refugees looked thin and pale from having insufficient food compared to the native tribe, and had torn clothing that hung from their skinny bodies. As a whole group, together though, despite the eclectic multicultural mix, they had similar expressions in their eyes, people shaped by the hardness of the land and the richness of their values. Mistrust of one another. The envoy destroyed Surrey. I was there when it happened. The soldiers razed it to the ground, much like they did for your towns and villages, but they do far worse things than destroy buildings as we can rebuild. But you already know this, don't you? It's what bonds us together. My mouth was dry, making talking challenging. I swallowed hard. The pause was long enough for members of the crowd to get involved in my attempt to forge some togetherness. Yeah, what? Some people in the crowd shouted back at me, hesitating before I answered. I glanced at Tristan again, who gave me a quick nod which boosted my confidence. You've had children taken, but you don't know why. I do. Yeah, another person shouted. How do we trust you? Because I do know what they do. I have no reason to lie. Why would I? The envoy is not like us. They enslave children. My heart raced. How do you know? A woman jeered at me. Her eyes glistened with fear, her voice harsh and shaky. Taken aback by how forthright she was, I regarded her for a moment as tears rolled down her cheeks. Peering at the faces gazing at me in earnest, they wanted the truth. I knew what they needed to hear, but how could I share this with them when I couldn't even talk to my friend about it? I saw Raven a short distance away at the square's edge. He leaned on a wooden pike. He leaned on a wooden veranda with one foot resting on the vertical strut behind him, arms folded. He was watching me with what appeared to be interest. Go on, said his eyes, and the voice in my head. He knew little of what I was about to say, yet having him here would be more challenging than having him hear what I had to say. None of them knew. I'd never spoken of my stay in the dungeon or what I had to do to escape. It was strange. Killing the guard never interrupted my thoughts. It was the only way I could have escaped. But simple things like the cherry orchards brought overwhelming emotions, but that I had to force myself not to show. I suppose the trauma has a way of messing with your senses, toying with your emotions until there is nothing left to feel. Perhaps that is why I ignored it. Being numb to emotions was more manageable and made life more bearable again. With effort, I peeled my eyes away from him to the crowd as they murmured. They needed to hear this. So with clammy hands and a heart that pounded in my chest, I took an intense, calming breath. So I'm going to leave it there. And I'm going to, before I even ask anybody else what they think, I am going to welcome to the stage our guest speaker tonight, who's going to be sharing her wild thoughts with us. So please welcome Wild Thoughts. I'm just going to add you here. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi. How are you?
I am very well. I am very, very well. How are you? It's so lovely to meet you.
Yes, it is. I'm getting it together.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have got a lot of questions, but I'm going to hold them back for a moment.
Okay, hold back for a moment. Hold back. I'll be good for a moment.
So what we'll do is, shall I hand it over to you for a moment to introduce yourself, or do you...
Sure, I don't mind unless but you just finished reading, so you want me to wait until everyone?
No. I was just warming everyone up. And myself.
Okay, no problem. Well,
no, it's fine.
I like to give everyone, before I get started, first they call me Wild Thoughts, and I like to give them a little background on that. And that's because I never prepare. Like, I just don't prepare for the questions. I like to be surprised, even the topics. I just, off the top of my head, whatever I'm thinking. And usually it's the stuff that people are thinking and won't ask. I will ask. I will come out and ask you the thing that you would just be like, wait, where did that come from? Because it's interesting and we want to know, and there's facts to it. But on the medical side, on the background, the reason that I can do this is I'm a retired nurse. I'm an RN. I still have my license. Just for a kudos fact, I was one of Ben Carson's nurses. Ben Carson, I worked trauma for over 15 years. I went back to school. I minored in human sexuality. So I have a bachelor's in human sexuality, along with a degree in herbs too, because I've known herbs for all my life. And then I went back to school to legitimize it. And then just the love of just, the personality and plenty of classes that have nothing to do with college. So I did my college thing, did my degree thing. And then you do all the other type of certificates that come from like Vegas and just different people that are in the industry that are really in, seminars and so forth. So I'm always keeping track with that, always keeping track with new toys, love toys, love things like that. I'm in Vegas all the time, California, those kind of things. In fact, I'm going to New York this weekend because it's really done. But in New York, they usually only have one seminar and it's open to the public, which most of these seminars are not. So that's always fun, so I can speak to the public. So that's my thing. So from there, I took that, which when you went to school, you should be doing stuff like trauma and things like not so much fun. I was like, why are there's plenty of people doing that. Not to say it's not needed, not, knocking it off, but plenty of people doing that. How about we do something a little bit more fun? How about we talk about, because there's a lot of mixed matching. There's a lot of relationships breaking up. It's either money or sex, and it's bottom line. And sometimes if you have good sex, you don't care about the money. Depending on how old you are and how secure you are, you don't care. If he is breaking in that back and having you happy, you could care less about how much money he's paying for something. Depends on the person and in circumstances. With that being said, what if you are a plus size woman with a short man? Well, not short, let's just say a regular man, but the average size penis is 5.5 inches. So what if you're plus size and you're dealing with a 5.5 inch penis? What do we do? Because I love him. This is when you come to me. And then also if you're trying to date, I want to get married. Why are you not getting married? Why haven't you had the proposals? What's going on? You come to me. Because what people don't understand, sex is very mental. Dating people don't deal with their traumas and they don't realize what they're picking, and it has issues. So all of that comes together, and I help you get through that. Now the book. Now here's the book. The book is How to Have 11 Orgasms. Most people know about 3 or 4. Some of the top people know about 4. 3 is about it. That's it. But there's a whole bunch. There's actually 15, but they're blended, so I don't count them because they're blended. So there's 11 actual orgasms, which will help if you have ladies haven't been having sex and pretending to have orgasms. You know what I'm talking about. We do it all the time. This is going to help if you know your body, how to teach them to give you another type of orgasm, especially if you're in love with someone who maybe have PE, little premature ejaculation. They can't help that. Or they have high blood pressure medicine, different things. So these are other ways to achieve an orgasm. And then for the guys, it's simple. I'm just going to make you a beast. Like, do not use this for bad things. That's what I'm saying. Don't do that because I'll come get you. Okay? But use it so that you can, have your woman happy, you're happy, everybody's happy, and how to merge it together. So the book is really good in that sense. It's not a super long book because one of the things that I noticed when people are writing sex books, because I did some research, is you go and you open the book and it's like this thick. And the part that you want to get to, you start reading it, you're intending to read it, you're like, okay. Then you're like, oh my God, I want to know what's going on. So you just start skimming through it really quick, getting to the nitty gritty. So what I did was I got to the nitty gritty and I straight get to it. I put a little teeny bit of fluff on it, but it's straight to the nitty gritty of telling you where it is, how to do it, and a tip about it. That way there's some tips. And of course, I'm going to give everybody information where they can get the book. Today, I'm going to give you a $10 coupon so you can get the book for $20. And we're going to put that out. And also, if you don't use the coupon, you get a orgasm kit, which means after you download your book, I will mail you a bullet, some lube, and a wash, because hygiene is very important, and what you wash with has a lot to do with things. So we do all natural yoni washes. We'll give you that. And for the guys, you can still use the lube, and you can still use the vibrator, because you should use it in, that's another book. You should be using in sex positions, but I'll tell you some today. I feel generous.
I have got so many questions loaded.
Wait, I gotta show them. Wait, just so you
Go for it.
This is the you're gonna get a standard bullet. Later on, we're going to talk about roses and all the other stuff. But a standard bullet should always be in the drawer. And for the men, this is what you do. Okay, now here's the thing. You keep it wrapped how I gave it. You unwrap it in front of her. Okay? You do not pull out the unwrapped thing and say, I'm going to use this. Because she can be like, wait, what the hell are you doing? Who did you use that on? Don't do that. Okay? All right. Or you can get like a little buzz. I'll mix it up. But just for fun, we're going to explain what this stuff is. Now, look at this. This is the beauty. You know what that is? You can see through this. Put your little mask on. We're going to talk a little bit about that. A little mask, a little tape. We're going to excite things a little bit. Hear that? Ooh, when you hear that, you should get excited. Your nipples should get hard. But we'll talk about that later. You're not ready yet. Okay. That's just the introduction. I'm just saying. I know it's a different time frame, so I got me a little wine because it's afternoon here. Wait, what time is it?
Oh yeah, go for it.
Oh yeah, I can drink. A little bit.
Do you know what? I think I should start doing that because it's definitely 1 o'clock.
You don't drink on these things?
Well, I have water at the moment, so yeah. No, I think perhaps I should, like dark rum and
you
Coke.
Should. You know what I use this for? Like when I'm drinking the water, I'm on this. I just use this to show you the technique because we have a second book called Power of the Mouth, How to Make them blow in under a minute. So usually I use water for tantalizing reasons because I can just put this whole stem in the mouth and just drink. So I'd be showing off. I just do that for that. Really, I want to do it.
You go for it, girl.
Oh my God.
I think you've like I think I might start doing that. Start drinking on this.
You need to start drinking. That is a must. That is my command for you. I will be checking on you. You better drink. And what I can do is in a little while after we finish talking, I'll give you the link. I can tell everybody because they can go through Instagram and they can click on the Instagram and go right to the website and buy the book, or they can just go to the website and it's all the same because it's all the same name. She Only Cares. It's the same thing. Anyway. Well, yeah. And then the coupon, we'll go through that. It's like when we're finished talking, it's like sex with me. Like I made that kind of fun.
Exciting.
But anyway, where do you want to start? Is there something else that you need to do? Hold on.
Go on.
Okay. No, it was not that. I know we're on Clubhouse too. Can somebody
We are.
let me? Yeah, can they let me up? Jules, let me up.
Yeah.
That's me over there, Nsenga.
Hang on, let me refresh.
Yeah, I'm at the bottom. With the strawberry, that's me. You see me? The sexy strawberry. Yes.
Gotcha.
Look, see the strawberry. There you go.
So just mute your microphone on here.
Wait, let me turn me down. There you go.
Perfect, because I can still hear you because we've got microphones and stuff like that. So
yeah, I'm turning it all the way down.
What's your thoughts on doing the video style of this?
Okay, that's perfect. I think, is it good now or is it bad?
No, it's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, just keep the volume of your phone right down and your microphone off, because you can be heard.
I love your accent. Oh my God, that would make great sex. Just say dick. Just say it.
Dick.
Oh, yes. Like, bring me that dick.
It's kind of like a weird accent, because I kind of picked up. I worked in London for a while. I wasn't born with this accent. I was brought up with I was brought up with a more posher accent, and then I worked in London for a big chunk of my working career, and they all talk like this. I want a bottle of water.
Oh wow, so I'm gonna be proper. I'm gonna put my water in a wine glass because I'm gonna be good.
But see, I love the American accent. Water.
Really? You hear that? This is how you should sound when you're actually giving head. The boo-boos. You should sound like that.
Is that the sound? So,
yes, you have to make sound. Sound is very important. Sound is one of the steps.
Okay, so
wait, let me be proper. You have to hold
I will cheers you, but mine is literally just water.
Yes, go ahead.
Please come back. It's so much fun having you on it. Yeah. So can I retract a little bit further back into?
Let's go for it. Go all the way.
Let's start from the beginning. I just have a couple of questions I wanted to ask you, how you, because you started off as a registered nurse.
Correct.
What kind of led from that to what you're doing now? Because obviously obviously like nursing, you kind of deal with
trauma.
nurses
How do you get from trauma to talking about dicks all day? Yes.
Yeah.
So this is what happened. Here's the truth. No one do this. I was getting a divorce and I needed money. And so what I was doing was I was selling toys, and then I saw the toy companies and I looked at the percentage that they were taking. I was like, hell no. I'm not giving them 70%. I only get 30. There has got to be a way. And then when I was looking, I came across that you can actually get a degree. And I said, oh, you know what? I really need some money. Don't do this now, people. Don't do this. But when you take out your student loans, you can bump them up a little bit and get some money, because I had to pay the lawyer. I had to do other stuff. I had kids. I had stuff like that. So I went back to school. And I took one human sexuality class, and I said, this shit is interesting. And I was always interested because I was selling toys on the side. And so from there, I was like, wait, you can get a degree? And they're like, yes. And then all of a sudden that turned into a degree. And it was just, school was effortless because it was really interesting, the way the mind works, the way sex works. And then that's how it happened. It happened because I was getting divorced. I needed some extra money, and sex sells. And I went back and I'm one of those people that, if I'm doing something, I want to be top of what I'm doing. I want to know what I'm doing. I don't want to just talk about it. And I realized that, oh, wait a minute. I used to listen to Dr. Ruth. I don't know how old you guys are. I listen to Dr. Ruth. I decided I wanted to be, that's kind of old. Yeah. But the idea is Dr. Ruth back then was someone that came on the radio. I used to listen to the tail end of her, in the end. She came on the radio, answered all these sex questions and all this other stuff like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so needed, because people ask me a million questions. When I was going to school, they were just asking me a million questions. And I was like, this could be a business. And so when I was done with trauma, because I had kidney stones and different things, and they told me you can't be in the OR anymore. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to be on the floor. I don't like that. I'm going to take my second job, my side hustle, and make it my whole entire job. And that's when it became super fun. Then I started going to more seminars. I started learning more about the toys. I've developed a little questionnaire that tells you what kind of dildo you should get, because I realized people are just buying stuff because other people say, just like the rose, people buy it because they say, oh my God, everybody says it's so good. But if you're not a clit stimulator, the rose doesn't do shit for you. Like, you shouldn't buy that toy. But people don't know that. And so I felt like education needed to be there in a fun way. And I like to be fun about it. Now, I can use all the proper words, and all the anatomy and physiology words. That's not fun. Nobody wants to talk like that. That's pretty boring. You ever listen to a lecture like, Jesus, I don't want to talk to that. You want to hear, put the dick in there. You want to hear, the pussy is wet. Yes. What makes good pussy? Like, do you ever hear when guys be like, oh, that's some good pussy? What is that?
That's true.
What is good pussy? Explain it to me right now. Tell them. I say, explain that to me. What do you mean? What I want to know is what's good pussy, and what I really want to know is if I line 3 pussies up for you and blindfold you, could you tell the difference? Or you just bullshit? Exactly.
That's a challenge.
Really? Can you tell the difference? Is it really a difference? I need to know, because now, shape-wise, there is a difference. I want to know, do you really know it, or you're just bullshitting? You know what I mean? How much of the mental to the physical? So those are things that I ask. Those are things I want to get to. Stuff like, when guys talk, that's okay. When guys talk about running a train, you ever wonder, like, if a guy said, if you ever ask them, have you ever been in ran a train when you were younger on a girl? And they go, yes. The next thing I'm thinking about, because nobody asked this question, everybody just kind of just is quiet and let it go and go, ooh, oh wow, you did that. But I want to know, wait a second, what number were you? Ew.
Yeah.
Were you number 4? So did after somebody else shot up the shot, stuck your dick in there and it just wooed around? Like, I just want to know. Were you number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4? Everybody in this room can't be number 1. So somebody was 2 and 3 and 4. I need to see what kind of personality is number 4 that goes behind the train, let 3 of his friends ejaculate inside of her vagina, and then they come next at number 4 and still say, ooh, this is good pussy. Look, I need to know you. I need to find out. I'm like
So when you're, again, I've just got so many questions. So when you're, so you go to seminars to learn about all of this. So I'm really curious, what kind of seminars are these? Because in my head, I've got 2 types. The first type is like a boring lecture hall where you've got someone with a stick pointing at different body parts.
That is in college.
Oh, that is.
Like in college, it is like that. So because I have a nursing degree, I didn't have to take anatomy and physiology number 1 and 2. Thank God, because you only want to do that one time. Anatomy 2, oh my God. It's like you need to take it by itself. It's just horrible, because it's just like, there's just too much, all the layers of the skin, bones, all that. So first you have to do that. But thank goodness I had that done already. So I was lucky to go straight into some more, more interesting. So you have to learn the history of sex, and there's really a history. And so you learn all of that. And then also, it's just like psychiatry. You have a lot of psych classes, because sex is mental. So you learn the damage that it does, the damage that, videos do with children, trauma, and how to deal with that. Because that's what a lot of people go off and do. They go off and do that. I just turned it into something else. So now what I did on my own, when you have other classes, you usually go to like the Vegas to learn from the porn stars. They have their own classes. Like, they all have classes, or you can interview them. You could talk. Like, I called them up and asked for interviews. That was different for them.
I'm going to interrupt you.
Okay.
No, you. No, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Here's the thing. I'll never forget when I first went to a convention. It was an award convention for them. I only went to the convention because I wanted to interview them. And it was crazy because a lot of them agreed, because they said no one's ever did that with them. All they did was they wanted an autograph. They wanted to talk about, interview them about all the men that they had sex with. But I didn't want to interview. I wanted to know techniques. I said, well, this is what I do. I'm not interested in, I don't care if you had sex with 100 men. If you did, I just want to know the technique that you're using to relax your jaw. I want to know more about, what do you do to, make it easier? Or when you find that he's a person that doesn't ejaculate easy. I'm looking at that. And they were very willing, without me paying them to give it to me, because no one wants to talk about the technique. They just want to talk about what they see. I don't care about that. I want to know about what is behind, how to do the proper knots on, tying someone up. What's the best toys? What do you think about the toys? How do you deal with them? What is your sex life active? What is your process? What are you thinking about? So from there, I started doing a lot of interviews, and then instructional classes that I've gone to, where people have the same thing. They have masters in, human sexuality or different things, and you talk to them and you go to their classes. So it's a range of very fun classes to non-fun classes. And then, of course, speaking to the actual manufacturers of the toys, because you got to remember, they do research too. So really going and asking the right questions to them. A lot of people just will go, oh, I heard the rose is good, so I want, a 2,000 of them. Hey, I don't do that. I want to know what's the speed, what's the warranty, where was it made at? Was it made in China? Was it made in Canada, where they make toys? I want to know the materials. I want to know the modem behind it. I want to know what was the idea, like how's it sucking? Like I'm asking a million questions that are totally different from everybody else. And they're like, oh, wow, you're so in-depth. I said, yes, because I need to know to tell my people. Then the thing is, I want to see it. Like, give me one. Let me see how it works. Like, I want to compare. Like, just telling me that doesn't make any difference. I want to know, does Doc Johnson's is better than, Adam and Eve's? Who is backing this? What is going on? Now, we're going to secretly tell you a secret that people don't know. The candy-coated candy who's selling toys? That's actually really a company that sells the same entire toys, and she just put her name on it because people think she made it. That company has been existing with their toys. They weren't doing so well. So they made a contract with her, and they're doing much better. They just came out with a womanizer. Womanizer belongs to the Womanizer just did a contract with them. But Womanizer, that toy that they're having, it's just like the Rose, but with a handle. It's a lot better because they're going around telling people, oh, don't buy a Rose because they'll give you a yeast infection because they didn't have a Rose. So now they came out with the Womanizer so that you can think, oh, that's better. Actually, if you look at the tip of the Womanizer, it's the same tip inside the Rose. Duh. What gives you a yeast infection is clean your fucking toy. Look at your vagina. Not the damn toy. It's because y'all are buzzing on it. And when you're done and you're falling asleep, because it has got you a great orgasm, you're putting it down and you're not cleaning it. So you're just wiping it off. You got to clean it with a Q-tip and clean it out. How about fall asleep after you clean it, or clean it very well and then put it up? See, what happens is you're not cleaning it. And then you're putting old bacteria on. There you go. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that's giving you, this is what I'm talking about, education. So you got people going around saying this, and I'm looking at them like, what are you talking about? The toy does not give you the yeast infection. You cleaning it gives you the yeast infection. If you use soap, it leaves a film. So you need to use a toy cleaner or a natural soap because it leaves a film. If you wash your body, soap leaves a film. This is why sometimes men can irritate your vagina because men like to use Dial and Zest. They love those two soaps. They love them because they smell good. I get it. But what happens is it has a film, so you got to wipe it off. So those are things what I'm talking about. Education is a wonderful thing, but it can be made in a fun way. So I just kind of, do the little raunchy, but I love it. I'm just saying, you'll learn. Look at that cutie beside me. Oh, he left me.
No, he's coming back in a minute. I want you all to myself for a minute.
Okay, no problem.
Do not worry, he will be back, I promise. Because I think he's probably got some questions for you too. All right, so I have some more questions, but you brought up some more stuff. Right, you said porn stars go to an academy to, like, they get taught how to be a porn star? Is there a porn star?
What happens is porn stars that have been in the business a long time, they teach classes.
Okay.
Because they're not teaching off of, basically books, but they're teaching off of know-how. You have to understand, if a porn star is sleeping with, 20, 25 men or having sex every day, you have to learn something. Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I can back it with educational parts and things, but you got to know something. You're going to know a technique that what you're going to do. You're going to know, because you're overstimulated. So you're going to know about certain things. So they have classes to make you aware, to teach different things about toys or about positions. They're very good at position classes because they do a lot of positions. And another hot tip for everyone when you think about a porn, because people will tell you, watch porn and you'll learn. So I want to tell you something, though. You have to understand sometimes the porn is shot in many frames. That person is not doing that time, that long. What happens is they do it, they go take a break, they come back and get back in the same position and shoot it again. And when they edit it, they put it into one long strip as if they were doing that. It's mini cuts. They're getting breaks in between. So the vagina, it's not getting it like that. It would not be enjoyable in a sense.
No.
I'm not saying that it's exactly enjoyable, but, it would be, first of all, they don't want they don't mind a sore vagina, but they don't want one that's puffy. They call it honeymoon situs, that's raw and hurting. So you have to understand, they film these things in sections because you still, even though their vaginas are being used a lot, yeah.
So, okay. I've got some more questions. Right. What is the worst advice you've ever heard someone give to do with sex? Like, what's the worst thing that you've heard someone say to someone else about it? What's the worst advice you've heard? Like,
that's a really good question. No one has ever asked me that question.
Oh, really?
That is I have to tell you, that's an excellent question. No one has ever asked me a question, and people ask me questions all the time.
I can imagine they do.
Yeah, they never asked me that. What is the worst advice?
And the reason why I'm asking that, go on, sorry.
Okay. The worst advice, I would say, when people really feel like size matters, I think it's a problem. I think when people say, oh, no, it matters, because it's a mental thing. And there's way more to it. So people will count people out. They may have had a perfect, not perfect, but a good relationship. And because someone gave the advice that his dick is small, girl, I don't know about that. You mentally put that in someone's head. So now this person has to work 3 times as hard. And with the other stigma on it, it just makes it virtually impossible for you to see past that there is things that you can do and that sex has a mental thing. And the other one would be on that same level as women can be like men. It doesn't matter about casual sex at all. I think we're delusional and we're fooling ourselves. And I can break it down to you how we're doing that. Because when we have sex, only men, when we're having sex, men leave DNA in us. We don't leave DNA in them. You know what I'm saying? When they secrete, they leave DNA in us. So for you to think that the energy doesn't mean anything is ridiculous. For you to think when you sleep with 10 men in 5 days that there is no absolute damage just because on the surface you have decided something in your head. Oh, okay, that doesn't matter. Does not mean that it's true. It affects you in other ways, and energy-wise, and this. And I think that is the biggest advice when you hear people go, oh, it doesn't matter. You could just be doing you. You could just casually sleep with anybody. It's not a big deal. And I really am bothered by that because the truth is people like to lie. How many people really use condoms when they're sleeping with someone? They don't. A lot of people don't use condoms. And here's the thing too. How many do you know, seriously, are using a condom during oral sex? How many dental dams do you see coming out? You don't. They are licking that coochie raw, even if they're using how many dicks are really being sucked with condoms? It's like if it's in your industry, yes, but on the average, most people who have boyfriends have sucked their penis raw. So if you had 10 boyfriends, 20 boyfriends, you know, and I know what's going down. So when you look at that, to act like you can responsibly sleep with that many people and act like it's not happening. You may put your condom on to keep from getting pregnant, but you're still sticking stuff in your mouth and swallowing and putting fluids. So the advice when people say, oh, it's no big deal, blows my mind. I'm just like, wow, on a mental side too. And then you wonder why your thought process is a little messed up because we have to be a little more careful.
Now, you're a sex therapist, is that correct? Is that your, like, would you class that's your job title?
We call it sexologist, but really we're sex therapists. Yeah, okay. I mean, you know, it's in that, because you gotta remember, therapy is 4 years of college. Let's break it down. When you get to your psychologist, that's a master's. So you're going a little bit longer. So yeah, for what I need to do, I don't need to go there because I don't want to do what happens with people who specialize in sexual assault and stuff like that. And on that level, on the master level, they deal with a lot of rape victims and different things and really coaching people back, you know, pedophiles and stuff. I'm not interested in that. I just want the light fluff, but I have enough information. If you want to date where I can talk to you and say, hey, you know, you have a pattern. This could be related back to daddy issues, mommy issues, control issues. Now, if I feel it's out of my realm, I will tell you, you need to find a therapist to work on this part, and we'll work on this part, and so forth.
So when people come to you, what's the main sort of reason why people would sort of choose to come and have therapy with you? I mean, obviously, like,
instead of saying like therapy, I call it a session. Why do they choose
Session.
Because it sounds less, you know what I mean? Because it's not that,
Yeah.
you know, it's not that deep. Like, I mean, it's deep, but it's not like, you know, therapy. Like,
Yeah.
it's more of a session. So we have a coaching session. So think of it like that. It's like a coaching session. So, which I can certify people to be coaching. There's a difference between sexologists and coaching, but we'll get to that later. But what happens with their session is if you find that you're dating the same person, you find that you want to get married, but you just seem that you're not sealing the deal. You're doing the same thing. You're picking the same type of man. You come and see me and we break that down. You're in a relationship already. You really care for him. He is the one on paper of everything else, but the sex is terrible and it sucks. You come to me. If you are a man and you know, because men like to pretend, but you secretly know that I had some PE, premature ejaculation. I'm not really, open to a lot of things. You come to me and I'll help you out. So and then a lot of people come to me when the kids leave. The kids leave and they find out they don't really know each other. And it's different because now you're not, you actually, it's like when y'all first met. So to get that fire back into the relationship, I give you exercises and different things to get that fire back into relationships. If you're with somebody and they are not intimate, there's a difference between having sex and being intimate. So you find that your partner lacks intimacy. So he comes and sees me so we can discuss how we can merge the intimacy. Like it goes into love languages too. How to merge two love languages together. Everyone knows about love languages now because everyone's talked about them. But what they don't know and what you need help with is how do two opposite love languages communicate and exist with each other so they can feed each other? Because think about it. People can realize that. Go ahead.
I was just thinking, so when people come to you, do they come as a couple or single or mixed?
Whatever way you want. You could be single.
Whatever.
I get a lot of single women, and I get couples too. Getting fire back into their relationship, fixing things in their relationship, and I get a lot of people coming after someone cheats. It's very hard, even if you forgive them. It's like all I think about is, did he do this with that person? Did he do this? How to get past cheating? How to get past cheating and have a good sexual relationship? Now, here's the thing. You do not want to come to me if you are weak at heart, because I'm going to tell you if you're wrong. Just because I'm a woman, do not think that I am going to be like, oh, okay. It doesn't work that way. Because I'll give you a good for instance. A lot of times, we're going to talk about something with cheating. Here's the thing. I don't condone cheating or anything, but it can be, some cheating can be worked out. The relationship can be saved. But even as a woman, because the first thing that women do is say, he cheated on me. Okay. He cheated on me and I'm angry, I'm mad. Everything is about he cheated on me. But I will sit down with you and I say, usually I'll speak to her first and then him and then together. So quickly, we're going to do a really quick assessment, really quick, without doing all the other stuff. I would ask her, he cheated on you. Why do you think he cheated on you? And a lot of women will say, I don't know. This is this and this and that. So I'm like, okay. So we talk about that. I want you to think about that. And then, first thing I say, it's not my fault. I said, I didn't say it was your fault. I just want to know what your thought process is of why you think he cheated. So then I'm talking to him separately. I asked him, why did you cheat? Like, what was the problem? What were you lacking? What's in your thought process? Let me hear you without any judgment. So let's just do something, for instance. She doesn't want to do oral sex. She doesn't want to have sex a lot. She stopped doing that. She just is down to maybe once every 2 weeks. He said he kind of talked about it, but he didn't communicate well. Like when he's telling me what he's doing, he didn't communicate it well at all. I get back to her. We put everybody together. I get back to her and I asked her, I say, so what do you think? I don't know. I was doing everything right. I did the house. I did this. I was doing all of this. Okay. Now we put everybody together. Together. This is what I'm talking about, women. When I say that I'm not going to be on anyone's side, I'm here to help. Even when someone cheats, you have to sit back and evaluate. Not to say it's your fault. It's not your fault. Make sure you hear this part because sometimes we don't listen. But you also got to look at what you could have did better. What signs did you see before it got to that? Did you examine any of those things? Okay? Because a lot of times everybody's like, he cheated. There's nothing else to say. But did he come to you and tell you, hey, we're not having sex. Why won't you do this? You're my wife. Why won't you perform oral sex? You're like, I don't like it. I'm too tired. Well, how tired? And you're in your head, well, I'm tired because I'm doing everything. But my thing is, I like to make a saying. This is what it is. Do you send your soldier out to war without armor? what do you think is going to happen?
Mm.
You have to think about these things. It's not your fault because he had a choice and he has self-control and he has a responsibility. He's a grown man. He made a vow. But what I'm saying is take acknowledgement of your part. And once you do that, we can try to save this because you don't want to go into the same patterns again. It's important not to do that. You got to understand and recognize, what did I do in my play? What could I have seen? Because if you saw some signs, then maybe we should address therapy early. If you know, hey, you might have been very tight and this is his fault too because he should have been helping you. So now we need to fix those things. You know what I mean? Fix the things that you're too tired for this. What do? You're not spontaneous. Number one complaint of a married man is that the wife stops initiating sex. Do you know how annoying it is? You have to think of it on the opposite way. If every time you want sex, you have to go, babe, can I have sex tonight? Babe, can I have sex tonight? No, not tonight, next week. Babe, can I have sex? You said I can have it this week. You know what? I'm tired. Maybe Tuesday, probably Tuesday. Does that not sound like a chore? Does that sound like I'm excited? Does that sound like I want to bring the fire? No, I'm always asking and I may get denied. It's rejection, people. Just because I'm married to you doesn't mean that there's no rejection. It's rejection. So you're wondering why at the office, the girl is telling him, oh, I know your cologne smells good. I want to talk to you and whatever. He's open because we're all going to be attracted to other people. It's about self-control and respect and those things. But also, I need you to fluff the home a little bit. I need you to sit in a little armor. I need you to still be a little sexy. I need you to be a little spontaneous. With that going on, if he doesn't do the things you like in bed, I need you to speak up. Because then you're like, you know what? I don't feel like doing it because he's no good at it. He doesn't do foreplay. All he wants to do is stick his dick in me and come, and then we're over. He thinks that's great sex. What about my nipples? What about my ass? What about everything else? Like I'm saying, put a little warming gel. Can you lick my ass? Come on now. So he's at fault too. You see what I'm saying? This is why it's both. So you bring that together and we work through a plan and we work through that. But we have to recognize this is when it's savable. Well, everybody can be accountable for their actions.
Yes, because relationships rise and fall together, don't they? So, and it's you know, like my parents split up, and that played a big part of what caused the problems. And I just think someone like you may have sorted my dad out.
You have to get in there and you do that. And it's interesting too, because you can do it when you're single, because you have to know what your triggers are. So if we talk when you're single, I can help you with what your triggers, and then you know what you're looking for. So you know what you're looking for in a mate and how to communicate.
I do. Sorry to interrupt. I do think some of the issues with that though is when, like, particularly girls. I remember when I was at school and we had the talk, and the talk involved all the girls and boys being separated, the girls being taken into specific rooms and talked about periods. And this was like when I was in year 8 or year 9, and most of us had already started by that point. And that was it. That was our entire sex ed.
That's crazy.
So and so we were left to kind of figure it out on our own,
and it's still that way. You would think at this time with all the information, why are we talking about I'm going to say this, but we're not going to get into it, but I'm going to tell you a controversial thing. This will give you a wild thought. I'm going to give you a wild thoughts moment.
Oh, I'm looking forward to wild thoughts. I have more questions for you, by the way.
Oh, no. I want you to keep going with questions, but I'm going to give you a wild thoughts moment on the more, sex is serious, but I'm going to tell you how serious it can be, my thought processes. I was in a room with a group of ladies and we were discussing this, and we were going back and forth. We were hashing it out, debating it out, because I truly believe that you should give a 16-year-old a vibrator. Not a dildo, not a dick dildo. I meant like one of these. And I'm going to tell you why. In my thought process, from what I know, is we're under this idea. We don't talk about sex a lot. And then when we do talk about it, they learn on the street. But here's my thing. From a time that a child gets they get their period, they menstruate, they get urges. They get big as they get older. It gets puberty. It gets even older. So a 16-year-old is having urges. We are not discussing how to get rid of the urges, except for telling them don't have sex. So the thing about it is, It's like, okay, this guy is dangling this thing in front of me and he's kissing on me and doing these, I'm feeling this stuff, but you're telling me to fight something that feels so good, but you give me nothing to fight it with. And the reason I say this is, and some people don't agree because they think it's promoting sex. I don't, because here's the thing. One of the advice that I give my ladies, my grown ladies, if you go on a date with a guy that's so good looking, you know, he smells good, he looks good, you're super attracted to him, you're getting moist just looking at him, thinking about it, you think he's perfect, he makes money, he treats you good and everything, but you don't want to sleep with him yet. You know what I tell them to do? Masturbate before the date, because it gives you a sense of relief and a lot more control. You still feel the same way, but you have control because you outletted that energy. And you're like, oh my God, it worked. I was able to not do what I didn't want to do and fall into it because I masturbated. So the concept, what I'm talking about is, I didn't say anything that's shaped like a dick. I'm just saying a click simulator for a teenager. What is the problem if a mother has a conversation? This is how you tone down your urges. Chill out.
Do you know what? I agree with you, because it's like the age of consent in Britain is 16. In other countries in Europe, it's 14. Most kids are sexually active around 14 years old.
So
roughly.
what do we do if you know grown women who get sexually frustrated? You know, when you look at a woman, you be like, she needs some dick. Like, you know, she needs some dick. Like, she needs something.
Chill out, babe.
Right. So if a grown woman has urges and has frustration over sex, why are we thinking active teenage girls who are having sex are not sexually frustrated?
Yeah,
this is why they're all over the place. This is why they go from boyfriend to boyfriend and do stuff. We are not talking about, hey, this will cool you down a little bit. No, we just say no. What the hell?
Yeah. And what we're doing is we're saying no, and then the kids are going, ooh, why they say no?
Exactly.
So one of the questions I wanted to ask was, actually, I've never seen that contraption before. What's really interesting is over here we have a company.
You never seen that bullet?
The contraption that you've got there, no. But we have a company over here called Ann Summers, and we have Ann Summers parties where you can actually like have a party of your friends, and you have like an Ann Summers representative, and she brings all of the toys and everything, and the outfits and everything, and you can buy them.
Yeah, I've heard of that. You know, on a sidebar, when we get off, me and you need to talk, because you know what you need to do? Sell your own toys. I'll hook you up with the manufacturer. Sell your own toys, man. Because when you sell for her, she keeps 70 and you get 30. How about you get the hookup and you start having your own parties and you get your money and you start doing your own thing, so you can bring toys like that there. Not so hard.
We'll talk after this.
Exactly. You see?
Yes, right. Yeah.
Look at my face.
That's what I'm doing.
Do y'all have this? Y'all have this, right? The little rabbit with the tongue. I mean, the little rose with the tongue.
I've not seen that before, but we have one that actually looks like a rabbit. Now, for me, when I've gone into Ann Summers and they've had like a rabbit, it actually looks like a rabbit though, and it's just like, how could you?
No, we have that, but this is good for anal right here too, and then this is for the regular. Then there's just there is so many other good toys that we can have a whole show. We'll come back and have a whole show on toys.
Oh yeah. I'm not anyone else.
They can go to my website and I do free consultations. So if it's something that you don't have, I literally, when they go to the website, they can call me and I will talk to them and send them pictures of different things, the video, so they can pick out this stuff that y'all don't have, that y'all can pick it out and I can send it to you, because you should not be suffering. Because there's a lot of wonderful things that couples can use, because there's a lot of toys now that are app control. So what I love about that is you have the vibrator in you, and I'm over here in the States. You're where you're at. Don't matter where you're at. I can be on my phone and program it while you're sitting.
I'm still with you. It's okay.
Yes, like how we're sitting right now. I can press the program on my phone, and it's vibrating for you. And here's one of the best things.
Wow.
They have a contraption, beautiful contraption. It's on my thing for men, and you don't have to use your hand, men. You just put it on your dick. I have it programmed. I can program it earlier in the day and just press the button. Or when we're talking, I press it. It has 20 different functions, and I can design a function each time. Number 3, number 2, number 1, number 7, number 8, whatever. It has different sucks. and literally talk dirty to you. You can have your hands free. You don't have to do it. It just sits on it and goes, it does everything.
Gosh.
And when you're done, you pop it open, rinse it, smack it back, and we're ready again. App control.
So there's no excuse.
5-year warranty. I warranty all my stores.
Wow. Do they last that long? So they actually last that long.
I'm the real deal. I am the real deal.
No, not you. I was talking about how often it gets used.
Oh, I know some people now. I know some people personally. I'm not going to talk on business, but I know some people personally that I've given that to, and they tried it, and then they ended up loving it. They was like, "Oh, could you hook me up tonight?" And I was like, "Wait a minute, you're using it again? Again." And here's the thing too. If anyone has, you don't have to talk about it, but if anyone has a little longevity issue, this will help because you can practice retention with it. So I don't have, so that way you could secretly practice your retention, and so that will make you last longer in bed, or teach you how to, I like to call it, fuck through the nut. Basically, you can ejaculate and still stay hard and keep going for her. Wow. This helps you.
Men, please.
You said please.
I need a drink. Where's my drink? I should have got a proper, I should have bought my rum and coke.
Get your drink.
Oh man. Yeah. Do you know what? There are so many things I want to ask you, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to be very kind and actually, because I know that Adam particularly, and probably Reese as well, possibly Melanie, maybe Doris, would love to be able to actually talk to you as well. So what I'm going to do is, hang on a second, because this is the first time.
Like 2 balls. I have one water, 1 wine. Just like balls.
Can I just ask a question before anyone else comes on? What is your recommendation? The best toy for a woman?
It's on my page right now because what I do is I don't put a lot of toys on there. I only put the top 20 on there, and I just started loading them. It is on my. We need to give them the Instagram.
From your recommendation, this is
it. I'm gonna tell you right now. I call it the
perfect.
I call it a threesome. And what it has is the suction. It has a little tongue on one end, and then the whole vibrator in the back vibrates. I love that. And then the other thing that I love, I think is really good, is it's an app control like panty vibe that you can turn into different ways, because I think it's a great way to introduce sex into the bedroom. But also, I think it's fun between girlfriends. You don't have to be gay to have fun. So this is why I love this. So if me and my girls are going out and we have these app remote control panties, we can have some fun for the night. Can you imagine when you're drunk and you have the little thing on and I press it at the bar because you're trying to talk to some guy or get his number and I press it and it vibrates? We're cracking up laughing. So I'm about fun. So I think it's fun. So it can be used in a couple sense, but I feel like it can be used in a girls' night because we're just having fucking fun. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're just like, I'm like, girl, we're going to go out tonight and drink, but use your vibrator. You give me your remote and I'll take your, it's app control. You give me your app, I'll give you, we'll download the apps and we'll use it. And you go, okay. And we have a bet. Or we're just going out having fun. And you're on the dance floor dancing and then you do it because you're like,
stay down.
And everybody's trying to figure out what the hell is going on. So,
love it.
I'm about that. Like, I'm about also using the bedroom, but come on, if you don't have a man, we can still have some fun with our girls and laugh. Because this is the shit you laugh about. Like, like, remember that time we went out to whatever you guys call it, pub, disco, whatever. And I had the app and you were trying to talk to the guy and I let it go and you were having a complete orgasm. And you're like,
that would be interesting.
It would be fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's have fun.
Absolutely. Yes, I think that's great though, because it like normalizes it. So many people have stigmas about even talking about it, and I'm embarrassed about it. Now, another question for you before I'm sorry, Reese. I promise, Adam and Reese, I will invite you on in just a moment. I promise. I know you're both itching to get on here.
They're gonna get you. Okay.
I know they are. Right, I'm just using this for like reference. This is not at all. This is just moisturizing cream for your face.
Okay.
But we get taught. And you can tell me if I'm wrong. We get taught to, if you hold a vibrator on the end of your nose and it vibrates and it makes your eyes water. Then
I mean, you can do that. You can do here because Here too,
Is
you
that
know,
true?
when you do a baby bottle, like on the wrist, it's very delicate, so you could do that. I mean, you can pretty much these vibrators nowadays. I don't even know if you could use 20. Baby, you don't usually have to go past 4 or 5. 20 is very harsh. 20 it makes a little bit of warming. It makes your whole clit go numb. I mean, it'll get you an orgasm like this. Because 20 is like, you know what I'm saying? Like 4 and 5 is usually enough. If you're on 20, that's like, whoa. I'm sorry. I'm babysitting my baby. I'm babysitting my granddaughter because right before this, I had to take her to the doctor. You want to say hi, Bella?
Oh, I have a Bella downstairs. She's a bigger dog.
Yes.
Wow,
She's only 3 months and she just got her shots today, her baby shots.
Oh, can I open the door? Because my other one buddy is actually pouring at the door to come in. I had to shut the door.
Yeah, I didn't want people to think I was like something was wrong. That's why I kept looking down. And then she was very happy because she chewed my scarf while I wasn't paying attention.
Oh,
so I didn't want people to think like, why is she like I have a tick?
Oh no! I heard the dog barking, and I actually just
good because I was like, I hope
like
something's wrong with me. I'm trying to keep it like Bella. I'm just looking at her because she's on those puppies. I'm like, listen now. If her mama, I didn't because she got the shot, so her mom was like, can you please watch her? And I was like, oh, I was gonna drop her home. She's like, no, and I was like, okay, I could do it. Bella's over there. Listen, secretly, she already ate some popcorn. I hope that's okay. She ate that whole entire thing of popcorn like a ham.
Popcorn's fine. Their dogs love popcorn. So
okay, good. Because I was like, shit. You didn't see, I ran over there real quick, and that's when I dipped for a second. I grabbed the I was like, God damn it. She did the popcorn. Mom's not going to kill me.
So mine like constantly pulls at me to have attention, so I'm having to constantly like maneuver myself, so I'm stroking him because otherwise I get nudged in the leg. Mom noticed me.
I'm gonna make y'all laugh because you can let him talk. I know you have another question, but here's the funny part. This is what we talk about in relationships. Lately, I've been dealing with people, and it's very hard, who love their dogs to the point where it can ruin their relationship. The dog is sleeping in the bed.
Oh no, mine doesn't. Mine has a crate next to the bed.
That's fine, but it's hard to have sex when the dog is in the bed.
Yes, it's mildly difficult.
Guys, you have to have some.
The dog, the harder it is as well.
Move the dog to the hallway. You have to have some boundaries. You cannot keep having the dog in the bed and expecting sex. Like, it's not cool for a person that doesn't love dogs like that. They don't think that's fun.
No.
Watching them.
It's a bit like
Turner and Hooch. Fun.
Do you remember that scene from Turner and Hooch when the dog's just sitting in the doorway, just going?
This is what I'm talking about. It's crazy because I've been going to California a lot, and I've been dealing with people who, like, there's what people complain about. They're like, I don't know what to do. I can't deal with this. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, wait a second.
Get the dog off.
Yeah, it's like having a baby. Like, you cannot have the daggone dog in there or in the room. The dog, like, if you're going to have sex, if you have someone over and you're dating them, not married, dating them, you have to put the dog in their area. You cannot have the dog in the room and expect that she wants to get butt-ass naked with the dog. Like, it's just, no. The dog is staring at her butt. No. You're
next. You're now mine, bitch. You're next.
Exactly.
There's a whole different thing. Right, I'm going to invite both Reese and Adam to come on. Bear with me a second.
Do you want me to give you the website, or do you want to? You can,
yes. What I'm going to do.
Do you know what? You can link it if you go to my Instagram.
Yes.
It clicks right into the link tree, and you can just copy the link.
Because you can direct message me on Clubhouse.
Right now.
You send me everything. What I'm going to do is you can just send it directly on there, and I will then put it up onto the online like chat screen thing that everybody else can see. So, and then what Reese and Adam can do is they can add their because I like Reese and Adam both write erotica in various different ways.
Ooh.
Hello. Hang on, I'm just seeing if there was anyone else. Melanie and Darius, are you on here as well? Or you're on Clubhouse? You're both listening. If you have a question, if you press and hold your picture on Clubhouse, you can then put like an image up, and I will like come to you in a sec. And you're very welcome to get involved. I'm going to stand back a little bit and like because I've asked lots of questions already.
I put it on there. I put it on there so you can go to my Instagram, click on it. You can put the direct link, but I gave you the information. Look at your messages. But come on, talk to me.
Right, so just remember, guys, you just need to mute yourselves on Clubhouse, and you can use the you can talk on here. So you can unmute yourself on here as well. Let me.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, I love it.
And muted Jules on Clubhouse. Is that what you said?
Turn your
stay
down.
muted.
That's what I did.
Yeah, stay muted on Clubhouse. Turn your phone right down, and yeah. Oh, perfect. So I'm gonna back off a little bit. Off you go, you two. Enjoy yourselves.
Reese, you go first. Tell us something about yourself.
Go ahead. Me or no, Reese? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, Reese, we can't hear you. Hang on a second.
Can't hear you. Turn your mic on.
Turn yourself off on here on Clubhouse. You're like your
oh no!
Is it Darius? If you can mute yourself as well, that'd be awesome, because you can still hear. Just press and hold the picture if you want to say. That's it. Yeah, mute yourself because you've got an echo. Oh, hang on, Darius. Did you want to say something? No, that's okay. That's fine. So if you say. That's fine. That's fine. Don't worry, Darius. Thank you. All right. So, wonderful. Okay. So, ask away, ladies and gents. I'm sure there's things that you'd like to find out. Okay. Let me introduce these two wonderful people to you first. So, this is Wild Thoughts. Obviously, you've heard our conversation. Reese, right? I'm going to start ladies first. Sorry, Adam. Reese writes erotica, and it's BDSM erotica as well, isn't it?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. I love it when Reese reads. It's very sexy.
Tie me up and slap me. Come on, do it.
That's the kind of thing. Absolutely. And then Adam writes slightly different. So he does queer norm. So he writes fantasy with queer norm going on in it as well. Lots of sex scenes.
Well, I have a vivid imagination. I'm for it. Come on.
And some things that I'm still trying to figure out because I haven't read the entire book yet. But I do have a quote.
I never heard of that.
Someone's beta reading his book, and it's a quote, and it's living rent free in my head and has done endlessly since. And I'm sure when I start reading it, I'll be like, oh, that's
like I don't know that was going on. You're confused about what's going on, but it's okay.
I had my beta reader. One of the comments I received one middle of the night was, I never expected to be reading pony porn before, yet here I am doing it.
Yes.
So it makes me happy. Brings me great joy.
This is what I have to say. They can read it because we got the same hole too. Yeah. See what I'm saying? So that's all I gotta do is just change the partner, but it's the same hole. I'm just saying, like, what the hell? An asshole is an asshole. Okay.
I've just followed you. Sorry, God.
So tell me. So Wild Thoughts. So you've written a book. Is it a novel? Is it a fiction, or is it?
Okay, no, it's not a novel. It's not fiction. It's more of a manuscript of how to have the 11 orgasms.
Oh, okay.
So what I did is, since people don't know what they are, so each chapter is one of the orgasms. So I explain to you where to find it, how to find it, and some tips on some positions that you can use to do it. Or if you're a certain size, like, hey, just tilt more to the left or use a pillow to put underneath your ass and you can achieve it. So it's more of like one of those kind of like how-to type of books with a little instructional manual. Yeah, that's what it is. I'm only because I love novels and I don't read any erotica novel that is, but I'm not a fan. Like I was saying, when I went to I'm not doubting anyone's work, but I'm not a fan when the instructional book is really fluffed out thick. It's like, oh my God, like I want to get to that part. Like you told me you're going to tell me this, like why am I reading 2 chapters of all this other shit about something? I don't know. I want to know, like, Can you tell me what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, what way am I supposed to hold my mouth?
Like, yep.
Why am I getting too
my book starts with an erection. Yep.
Right. So
my book starts with a boner.
See, and that's what I'm saying. I enjoy, not saying that it's wrong.
Yep.
I enjoy to the point books.
Getting to it. Yeah.
So for me, when it okay, erotica reading novels, it doesn't have to be, but when it comes to instructional books, I enjoy, let's get to it. So that's how the book is. So I have that book, and next week the other one will be ready. It's called Power of the Mouth: How to Make Them Blow in Under a Minute. And yeah, so and I had that did a lot of research, a lot of technique. The numbers are good. 85% of the people who have done the technique, it works. Because there's always a magic dick out there that you can turn upside down, twist around, suck it, twist it, and whatever. That shit ain't coming. It's just not coming. I call those disrespectful penises. I'm like, oh, you have a disrespectful penis. I understand. Okay. It's not coming through oral. It'll come the other way. But what I'm saying is it's disrespectful. And some people are blessed with that ability in a sense. Those are usually people too who can do all-nighters. Those are usually people who naturally can, like I like to say, fuck through a nut. They'll actually have an orgasm and still stay hard and keep on fucking and do all-nighters. Those are the people who are very, very hard to make come during oral. They just have it's like a gift that God gave them. It was like, okay, I can do this. It's because they can just stay hard even when they orgasm. And it's just like, oh, okay. Unforgiving, disrespectful damn dick. All right, no problem. All right. But I'm going to find the way. But it helps, in general, it helps people because a lot of time when women are doing oral, their mouth gets tired. So this gives you a technique the proper way. Then they do something like they start making noise, but then they're doing bad techniques, so it's still not working. So then they just say something like, oh, I really want the dick in me. But really, they just like frustrated. Mm-hmm. And then the women who tell me, oh, I love sucking dick. Now this comes the degree in me. When a person says they love sucking dick, they love control. Because at that moment, when you're getting a man to have his whole nut or orgasm during that point, that's his weakest. That's his vulnerable point. That's where his legs buckle and you enjoy feeling like you trumped over him, a grown man, and you got him to this point. And they do something like pop up and be like, I got that. Or you say something later on like, I'm going to do that little thing for you if you do this. It's because it's the power that it gives. Sex is a very powerful exchange. And if you do your BSM, you know what that's about. It's about power. It's about submitting. It's about different things. So we all taste a little form of it. And this is why I try to get my older women. I really try to keep my older women out because they get to like 40 and 50 and they're like, oh, yeah, I did that. And I'm like, yeah, but did somebody tie you up and give you a forced orgasm? And they're like, what? And I'm like, I need to help you out. So I like to promote that to my older women because I need to get the spark back up because that vagina is working, baby, but I just need to work it a little different. I need to get you into some little moods. Like you are right now, when you're older like that, you are free. Do you understand the freedom in being old? I told my kids, if I do not make enough money and it's time for me to retire, just put me in you don't have to worry about me. I'm going to get some money because just put me into a rich retirement facility, and I will give some money to whoever's in the office to learn when the checks come in. I'll be getting paid. Don't you worry about it. I'll be a little 80-year-old hoe. And guess what? I won't care no more because I'm 80. Who gives a fuck? And they still want to have sex. So I'm going to be okay.
Would it be ridiculous to ask you to read a little bit of your book to us?
Oh my God, I got to find it. I have never read the book out loud. Okay, let me find it.
What?
No. Oh my God.
Oh my God. That's what we love doing here. We love hearing parts.
I know you gonna put me on a spot to read.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to. Oh my God.
No, I'll read something. I'll give you a little. Let me see something. I'll find something. Let's see. I'll find it.
If you'd like, you can maybe listen to a scene from either Reese's or Adam's book, and then you can like score it on.
Oh, I definitely want to listen to them read before I read. What are you kidding?
Which one would you like? You can listen to both if you like.
I want both. I want to read me something because y'all told me it was good. I want to hear it.
Oh, there you go.
Read me a good nasty. Whatever y'all do, it better be a good nasty part. Do not read me no fluffy fluff. I want a good paragraph. I'm just saying what I like.
There you go, ladies and gents. Which one of you would you like
and
to
I'll
go
look up
first?
something I can read for
The
you.
challenge has been set.
Excellent. The challenge
Yes.
has been set. No, I
And
don't
I'll
write
look
a
up something
recipe,
while you do
so
that.
I'm standing out of this.
I cannot
I will
wait.
just
I'm
listen.
excited.
I love it. And all three of you are like, quick, I've got to find a really, really raunchy part.
Right. I picked out a standard threesome to read. That was my plan. It was just a standard threesome that's being
I can deal with that. Go ahead, read it.
Well, it's a voyeur threesome, so one person's watching the other three. So I thought that was a pretty good start.
Yeah, do it.
But then I was going to jump to this pony play thing that I was telling you about a second ago.
Yes. I'm excited.
But now that you want like really sexy, I've got like a pegging scene I'm thinking about that I could read. I don't know. There's so many options.
I've never seen
There
that,
you go.
so I want to
There
hear
you go.
about this.
Okay, let's.
You've got your selection sorted then.
Mm.
I love it. I need to grade you all on your accuracy. Is that all right?
I'm loving it.
Compare notes and see which one's the most accurate. Although I'm not sure about the pony scene.
I want it all. I want to hear about it.
I guess I should clarify. The pony scene is not actually horses. It's a person dressed as a horse who is pony playing. But it's like you said, an asshole's an asshole.
Listen, I ain't doing the animal stuff. We off with other stuff. I'm not doing it. Have you seen when they have sex with a horse's dick? You know how big it is? And plus, I've seen them in the opposite thing. I've seen them in the OR because since I worked trauma, baby.
Oh.
They really do it.
I remember taking this will give you an insight into the previous job that I used to do. So I took a group of children, a whole class, to a farm, and these children are in reception. So that would be 5-year-olds.
Okay.
And whilst we're at this farm, we see a donkey in a stable.
Mm-hmm.
And the donkey is got his very, 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 very long dick out. And all the kids are like that. He's got a really long dick, miss.
What?
What are you supposed to look at?
Yeah, who are 5.
What do you do with that?
Well, he was just literally casually walking around with it. Like it was just literally just dangling. It was just like, and my kids were like that. Miss, look.
Yo, I'm
that was
laughing my head off.
Try and explain to the parents at the end of the day. Don't worry if he talks about a penis later. That was just what happened during the day.
Oh my God, that is so funny.
Yeah, the mums were okay about it. It was the dads who were the funny ones because they were like,
it wasn't your fault. You can't control
right, are you ready? Who's going first?
I'm listening. First, and I'm gonna look up my stuff.
Okay. That's so cool. I'm really excited about it. This is like a erotic. What's it? No, it's like a standoff between the 3 eroticisms.
That's funny.
Reese, are you ready? Are you ready, Adam?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Are you ready, Wild Thoughts?
I'm ready. I'm looking at what I want to read. And you
awesome.
Go ahead.
Awesome. All right. Which one of you? Adam, Reese.
Yeah, Adam, Reese. Should I go first? Yeah, I'll go first. Yeah, totally.
Go for it, Adam.
Okay. Let me set the stage. One of the characters, Yuppei, is transgender.
Okay.
The others, I think, it's all going to be pretty clear. Okay, that's the only thing you need to know. Yuppei followed Tati down the spiral staircase and momentarily returned with her bag for her second round of tea. I'll grab the water, Bong said, and Ole and Yuppei were again alone. She gave him a wry smile. I'm good with my hands, she said in a nonchalant manner. He watched her work, whisking up a little of the creamy topping before Bong returned with the kettle. I'm good with my hands, she repeated, adding the single word to on the end as if it implied something more. Popping back up the stairs with the water, Bong handed the kettle to Yuppei, who proceeded with the second preparation of tea. Just 3. Tati's off, he stated without concern. What do you mean she's off? Ollie asked, sounding a little bit more fretful than he intended. Where'd she go? No idea, Bong replied in his cheery tone. Yuppei wondered why Tati left. Ollie wondered why Tati left. He liked Yuppei and Bong, but his curiosity about Tati continued to increase. Yuppei prepped their tea, but neglected the 4th mug that sat empty. She turned with a coy expression, and each of the men sitting on either side of her, as one hand whipped back and forth and frothed up the contents of the bottom of their mugs. "You're quite good with your hands, aren't you, Yupe?" Bong asked, more as a statement. She commented brightly, "We were just discussing that very thing, weren't we?" And Yupe feigned surprise at Ollie. "Why don't you guys whip your dicks out?" she recommended. "How marvelous," Bong replied. He lifted his hips and slid his trousers down past his knees and sat again. Ollie stared right at the man's cock. It was perky and delightful indeed, but he was frozen and just stared. The two others turned to him. Yupi extended her long, warm, wet tongue and licked her palm. She smiled at Ollie, wrapped her moistened fingers around Bong's flaccid shaft, and began stroking and tugging it right there on the bench next to Ollie. Bong's cock started to rise. Yupe was sexy. "Not going to let me play with it?" the woman asked. "Well, I suppose if you'd like," Yupe offered. "You can play with mine." She released Bong's thickening shaft, hoisted her hips, and thrust her pants to her ankles. She exposed her own very lovely penis, which was also starting to grow with the libidinous activity. Although Ollie hesitated when asked to remove his own clothes, he required no further encouragement and slid off the bench to his knees on the rooftop. He positioned himself in front of the beautiful woman, and Bong graciously handed Ollie a cushion with a smile. He put it under his knees. Yupe was so sexy. Ollie thought how much he enjoyed when she went down on him, even if the moment he had been a bit nervous. He took the woman's cock in his hand, and Yupe moaned. Ollie leaned forwards and pressed his lips against her swelling head, kissing the tip. He gave her a squeeze and a suck, and Ollie let his saliva trickle down onto his lips. It lubricated his fingers and provided a smoother glide as he started to move his grip forwards and backwards on Yupe's beautiful penis. Between her spread knees, Ollie looked up at her with fawning eyes before he sucked her cock into his mouth. Ollie could taste her pheromones, mingling with her sweat from the energy at the concert they just attended, and the woman's flavors made her even more delicious. With his eyes closed, the whole world disappeared. He took Yupe's cock all the way into his mouth, curling his tongue around her shaft. Bong was moaning pleasureful delights at the woman's touch, and Yupe was gasping little sounds of arousal. But the only thing Ollie could hear was his own slurping of the woman's gorgeous erection, which swelled in his mouth. It bulged as he sucked, and more of his drool made his fingers even slipperier. He squeezed her hard shaft and felt the veins and bulges as his fingers rippled over its surface. Ollie's cock was thickening between his own thighs, and he adjusted it with his free hand. But even as he gorged himself on Yupe's throbbing dick, he knew there was more pleasure to be given to his woman. He released the saliva-slippery grip of his hand and bobbed his head up and down on her cock. Ollie's wet fingers drew down over her balls, made their way to Yupe's ass, and began to tickle the seductive woman's hole with his fingers. His other hand replaced the first and continued to tug and yank her perfect penis, and his finger entered her. Ollie's eyes opened, and he looked up at Yupe with a mouth full of her cock. The woman gave a quivering moan and stared down at him, and he began to fuck her sweet little asshole with his slippery finger. His eyes stayed locked on the woman's, with his lips wrapped around her shaft and his cheeks drawn in from the suction. Ollie rose and fell on her rod, and his woman was scrumptious. "You're going to make me come," Bong exclaimed, and Ollie turned his eyes towards the other man, never ceasing his sucking of Yupe's hard cock. And he watched as the woman's jerking fingers caused Bong's little head to spray towards the sun. He moaned a glorious cry of delight, and his cock gushed its viscous fluids. Yupe tugged Bong, squirting, and then seeping, and then trickling his cum. The sight and feel of his orgasm must have sparked something in Yupe, because although she still gripped Bong's pulsating erection, the woman's pinnacle also arrived. Ollie locked his eyes again on Yupe, still jerking, still slurping, and he shifted his mouth up so only the head of her cock was still between his sucking lips, and he sucked hard as she orgasmed. He stroked fast, his hand moving up and down the length of her rock-hard rod, milking the woman. Yupe's cock swelled, and Ollie's mouth was filled with Yupe's warm, thick ejaculate. She cried out, spraying her savory essence into his mouth, and he swallowed, feeling the woman's fluids running down his throat. Yupe had swallowed him, and now it was Ollie's delight to taste her. She gasped, and her asshole clenched and squeezed Ollie's fucking finger as she squirted into him. One of her hands still clutched Bong's limp and sticky cock as the other landed on the back of Ollie's head. Her orgasm began to subside. Ollie swallowed again and again, craving the perfect taste of her, and Yupe's pulsating cock oozed the last dribbles of cum and began to lose its rigidity. Ollie still sucked. She took a ragged breath and gasped the words, "You can spit it out," but he did not, and Ollie consumed her entire glorious load. Yupe's cock was soft but swollen, and Ollie was still sucking it when the sensation became too much for her. She moved her hands from the back of his head to his face, and Yupe's gorgeous penis came sliding out from between his lips. She quivered as Ollie very slowly pulled his finger from her asshole, and he licked her bulbous head once or maybe twice or maybe thrice. Yupe released Bong's cock, and without even wiping off, she took both of Ollie's hands in hers. The other man's jizz smeared between their fingers, and he liked the feeling of it. He'd liked watching Bong come. She drew his hands towards her, and Yupe bid Ollie to rise. The two stood together, and the woman kissed him deeply. Her tongue quested around the inside of his mouth, tasting whatever residue of her spunk that remained. Yupe's kiss was magical. I feel like I've been reading a long time, and I haven't even gotten to the naughty bits, like the really stuff. Like,
oh, they've been naughty. They've been naughty.
It gets naughtier.
I'm like, wow. I'm just like, oh my gosh. I have a question for you. Is it okay to ask before you read it?
Please.
I just have a question. Okay. So I'm just so curious in your mule house and your lifestyle. So when someone is, how we like to say, with the premature ejaculation, how is that dealt with? Is that dealt with kindness, or like, oh, this is some bullshit? Like, how is that dealt with in the queer world?
Oh, in the queer world, or in my story? What are you asking me? I'm sorry.
Not in the story.
Not my story.
Because you wrote that. Mm-hmm. I know you know, and so I'm just curious of, you know, is it as detrimental as it is to women? When, you know, is as much of a problem as it is, or is there more of an understanding of it, or something else that you could do? Like, is that serious?
Now that you're saying that, I do think that there's less of an issue with it in our community. I think that now that you're saying this, oh my God, it feels like a comparison between straight men having issues with orgasming too fast and them being upset about it, versus gay men or queer people who are just enjoying having the sex.
That's why I'm asking you.
Oh my God, yeah, I've never thought about that before.
It's okay, that's what I'm here for.
Well, that's awesome. No, that's awesome.
Yeah, because when you were reading and everything, you know, don't get me, I was thoroughly enjoying reading it. It just came across to me, like, I can tell in the way that you're reading, the way that the experience goes, it was interesting to me, versus erotica coming from a heterosexual standpoint. I can hear the energy in a different way, in a sense, and it made me ask you that question because it was so interesting to me, because there's a heavy emphasis, if you read erotica on a heterosexual thing, on the longevity, on it's said, it's slightly implied and said, his lasting long, his staying hard, his waiting to have the organ. I got mine first, and then he did this. So there is this whole elephant in the room, even there, and people maybe not notice it, but I noticed when you were reading, I didn't feel that at all. So it was really interesting to me. That's why I have to ask you, is there an issue? If that for you guys, y'all are just like, good, because you're like, okay.
Yeah, and you know, there's a different mentality. I love watching the documentaries from the 80s, sort of the rise of gay culture and the rise of the tragedy of AIDS and HIV and everything. I love seeing the way that gay men in the 70s and in the old film used to describe it. Used to describe sex. Mm-hmm. And I tried to actually steal that idea for my book. The way they would say it is that we would just get together and all of us would have sex with no consequences whatsoever, no judgment, no whatever. There were no STDs that were more than a shot in the ass in the 70s. You get a shot in the ass, your STD's gone. You can get back to fucking, right? But HIV changes all that. HIV changes that sentiment that sex without consequences existed for a time in gay culture. And that's beautiful. And what I've done in my world is I made it so that time is not passing, so people are not aging, so people are not having babies, so people can't actually get pregnant in my world. So there aren't relationships, there aren't families, and no one experiences any consequences to sex at all. There are no diseases that can evolve. So sex is not viewed in a taboo in my world at all. There's, and that's what I mean by what Jules said earlier, queer norm, that no one has to overcome anything in my book for their sexuality, for their gender expression, for the people who they love, anything about sex. There's no overcoming issues with that like there is in our real world. And I'm sorry, the sun is suddenly beaming in on me. And
oh no, it's cool.
Sorry, I closed the curtain.
No, I mean, I felt that, so I just had to interrupt and I just had to ask that on a serious note because it was very interesting to me. Because I was like, I really felt it in your reading. I was like, they don't have that. It's a really serious problem. Like it can break a relationship in a hetero. It could just really tear it apart. Like it could just tear it apart. Like I know it seems like not like how, but it can.
Right.
I'm just saying.
And that's so different. Yeah. Wow.
It is different. And then the thing is, anal sex is viewed as a lot of women won't do it. And if they do it, there's very few that says, oh, I super enjoy it. It's almost like a treat. That's how anal sex is. It's a treat. Like, oh, wow. Babe, like, what? Like, what are you doing for me? Like, we better be in love. You better be paying bills. Okay, then I'll do that. That's not something that is free giving. You can get your dick sucked before you get some ass, get some anal like that. You say that in the room, a bunch of women, what? Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no.
It's so taboo.
You absolutely lost your damn mind. But
so taboo. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting when you were reading. That's what I got. I was like, oh, there's such a freedom I see. Like, is such a what is the problem? Like, I was curious. So, what is the sexual problem then? What is the thing that says, oh, he was terrible in bed? Like, I rarely hear. That's what I'm saying. I personally rarely hear a queer. I'm saying it right or not because I don't want to offend anybody. So I'm just gonna say gay. Or, I don't know because I don't know all the names. That's a whole nother conversation. It's like a million names. I don't know them. I don't want anyone to get mad at me. I don't know. So just forgive me. Anyway, so I'm just gonna say gay. So in the whole community, okay, I rarely hear them say they're bad in bed. This is a deal breaker. Now you hear that time and time.
That's not a complaint. Yeah.
See, that's what's interesting because in a heterosexual relationship, ladies, you know that is huge. The first thing your girlfriend asks you is the dick working? Like, how was it? I'm telling you, before his name, his job, how much money he's making, girl, was it good? Is his dick working? And if you go, they're like, what kind of job do you have? Okay, you can get past that. If you say the dick wasn't working, he could be a millionaire. What do you mean his dick don't work? Oh, girl, I don't know how you gonna do that. I don't know how many pocketbooks you can take for that. I don't know. You cheat on him? Yeah, girl. You gonna have to get yourself a maintenance man or something like that because his dick ain't working. Oh Lord. Oh, how long you gonna be with him? Maybe just to Christmas? The relationship is over. Am I lying? The relationship is over. Wow. And more so, I'm a dare to say it, especially in the Black community, and I'm going to say it. I don't care whoever's getting mad. I'm going to stereotype it because I'm going to tell you from my experience with dealing with thousands and thousands of Black women, I'm telling you right now, the dick ain't working is a problem. There's a huge problem. I don't know if that relationship's going to make it. It's a problem. They don't play that. They don't like that. They don't like that. And that's what I found so interesting. Interesting.
Now I'm going to move us on a little bit only because we have to be finished at 10 o'clock or 5 o'clock for you guys.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
that's okay because you know what? Compared to them reading, I didn't want to read my thing anyway, so that's okay.
Oh. Well, what I was going to do, I was actually going to invite you back, and because
You can invite me back, and I'm gonna invite you back, and I'm gonna write something just for you. I'm gonna write something special about some positions, and I'll read them about doing the positions, because this is still good, but it's not juicy like this. I want to get into the, dripping down and wetness and my throat and oh my gosh and go ahead. I need to hear what you reading, but I got you though.
No, do you know, absolutely, and I really feel like, it's I just think it's just so cool, and I think having erotica authors as well really it just makes such a juicy conversation. I've been putting stuff in the chat online as well, just to keep people's interest whetted, shall we say.
Well, here's the thing: they listen to them, they come to me. I'm gonna explain to you how you do that in real life without hurting yourself.
Nice.
Yeah, how you can catch the spit at the bottom of the dick, because that's very important. You gotta throw it down there, and you know how you slurp it back up? Everybody don't know how to do that. You don't just go like this. Don't do that. There's a technique of putting spit down at the bottom of the balls and bringing it back around and dripping it up. And
we need to have a whole session just on techniques.
Yes,
I think
we need
like a whole program.
My advanced people, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna let you read. My advanced people, I teach them to put the entire dick in their mouth with the balls at the same time.
I'm so curious, but
mortgage paying technique. I call that a mortgage paying technique.
I can imagine that's probably very accurate for it as well. I love Reese's face. She's so confused. Should we get you to do some reading there, Reese? I am interested to hear what bit you're going to read.
Good, read.
I'm going to hand it over to you. Before I do it very quickly, because we normally say where people can buy books from and stuff. Adam, did you just want to say a little bit about that very quickly? And then we can scoot straight over to Reese and give her an opportunity.
Yes, I want to support.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so my book is called The Starting End. I don't have my copy with me, but I'm in the process of the final out loud read through in preparation for the audiobook. And I'll be submitting my manuscript to Jules right there. Jules, who is going to be publishing it with Danu Books. Yeah. And my goal is to have it done and submitted by Halloween. So that's my goal. Yeah.
I'm loving it.
And so once I have the more information, a website, all those details, I'll share that. But right now it's just getting close to finished. So yeah, thank you.
Okay.
It's getting closer. Sorry, carry on. Go on, Reese. We couldn't hear you.
And on a sidebar, you need to call me, because you know what? Next time you do your reading, I got merch for you, baby, that you need to be selling while you're doing that.
I think we need to have a chat with you.
Yes, you need to call me, because you need to read your stuff and have a merch kit afterwards, so that when they read your book, you have a separate kit. That's what I do with my book. I give you an orgasm kit. So what you need is a kit that has the strap-ons, that has the proper lube, because you have to have silicone lube for what you're doing. You can't have, right, so what I'm saying is, we need to put together a merch kit for you, so that when they get your book, if they pay additional price, they can get the merch kit. I got you, boo.
I love it. I love it.
That's just so cool. We need to talk after this.
We'll connect.
Go on, because I got something for you too, because I got all the straps, the whips. I love a good paddle. I like a good spanking. I am a choke girl all the way. Please, for God, choke me. Oh, yes. Oh, love a choke. Go ahead.
That heightens orgasm, doesn't it? Because it kind of restricts the blood flow to the brain.
It's
and things.
So beautiful. But I got to hear what she has to say so I can get excited.
I know, Reese is I need to read.
Read. I want to nipple hard.
There's no sound. Reese is hang on a second.
Where's the sound?
I don't know. Reese.
Okay, then
mind
it. Just mind it. Show me. Mind it.
Just act it out, Reese. There we go. We'll change
the
conversation to a porn show.
Just act it out. Well, while she's getting her thing, I have a question for you, Adam. What sound do you make when you're orgasming? Are you loud? Are you quiet?
I'm so loud. I'm so loud. Yeah.
Let me hear a little. Come on.
We have to close the windows. We have to close the windows.
Let me hear a little bit. Come on.
Oh, I'm not a performing monkey. I can't be put on the spot.
This is what Wild Thoughts does. Come on. Nobody else can get you to do this but me. Give me one little sound. Give me one little loudness. Do you say bitch or shit or God?
Oh my God. Yeah, that'll work.
That is a Wild Thoughts experience. This is what I do.
and they're usually pretty long and
They're
extensive.
long?
So it's,
Yeah, I love it.
yeah.
He's like, oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got you.
Oh, Reese.
We still can't hear her.
Reese, I can't hear you. There's no sound. Oh.
Are there handcuffs involved? Do you have a gag ball in your mouth? Is that why I can't hear?
I can't hear you, Reese. Hang on,
You've got
she looks
long-
like she might be sorting it out. Was she sitting on the microphone?
I don't know. Turn it up. Turn it up on Clubhouse so I can hear you. Something.
Hang on a second. Let me turn it up this end. Hang on a second, Reese. Let me do it this way.
She had shots today. I took her, so she's a little sore.
That's it.
But...
Right, talk now, Reese, on your phone. Hang on, you're so quiet. Hold it right up to your. You're going to have to hold it really close. I'm really sorry. I don't know why we can't hear you properly.
You know why you can't hear her? How much can she go in and out? I bet you she didn't press the allow the mic. That's what happens on the stream sometimes. Or is it the earphone?
Hang on, she's just
you
trying
know,
to
sometimes
figure it
you
out.
have to press the allow the mic to let you hear. Like you know
Yeah.
when you go in and come into the backstage. Maybe she goes
Yeah.
in and out. We might be able to hear it. I don't know. How about you come back in so we can allow you back in and you can press the allow the mic to hear you. Like
Reese,
go
still
out and come back in.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's
Let's
got
see, because
just-
what'll happen is, you know, that
Bless her.
part, she might have missed the part where the
Yeah.
mic goes. Can you hear the mic? If you don't press that button,
Oh.
you can't hear the person.
Hang on. Hang on a second. I can't. My phone is turned all the way up volume wise, Reese. I can hardly hear you.
She's not in the audience now. Tell her to come back to the audience. I mean, come back to the
Yeah.
backstage.
Come back. Maybe. I don't know how.
That's what
Maybe
I'm talking about. Come back here.
That's it.
And
Let
you
me
can
add
kinda
her
press the
here.
volume button. Because you know when we came on, there was a volume button. Can we hear you now? Say something.
No, I was at work.
Afterwards.
No, she's.
Nope. It's those earphones. Do you have earphones on? Dump the earphones. Do you have earphones on? iPad? Earphones. Maybe it's the earphones.
You just use your computer's microphone. See if that works.
Use the computer's
Rather than
microphone.
any headphones or anything like that.
This sounds like bad sex. Let me tell you, this is how bad sex goes. This shit sounds like that. No, this hole. No, not this. No,
That's
not
pretty
that.
bad.
Yes, you yourself from Clubhouse.
Finally,
We can
y'all.
hear you. We hear
I
you.
told
We hear you.
What did I
Your
tell
mic,
you?
that's it.
Listen
Perfect.
to me.
I don't know what
I'm
happened,
good at what I
y'all.
do.
Dominatrix.
Listen
Madam.
Machinery,
I'm
y'all.
here
Oh
for
my God.
directions.
Pure foolishness today, because we normally don't have this issue.
No, we don't. We don't.
Listen now.
Ooh, Lord,
That's
have
because
mercy.
you're feeling a bit hot and aren't you, Reese?
Yes.
It's like, okay, let's cool off. Let's cool off the taste.
Okay. I'm ready. My nipples are ready. I'm ready.
So this was one of the scenes that I read a while back, and since Wild Thoughts wasn't in here, I'll go ahead and reread that one. Let me turn this mic all the way down on Clubhouse end, so I don't get that echo in the background. This one was from Stephanie and her little fun office scene. The next day, I sat in the morning meeting in a mental haze. I couldn't focus on anything. I didn't know what was worse, being in the presence of the entire executive staff while I battled with my hormones, or being in the privacy of my office where there was no distraction from my thoughts. The cuff of my blouse lightly caressed the tender bruise. The cuff of my blouse lightly caressed the tender brush burn on my left wrist, and I almost moaned from the sensation. Flashbacks of the feeling of silky ropes rubbing against my skin as Sterling teased me made for heady daydreams throughout the morning. By lunchtime, I was completely on edge. And one more misplaced thought, and I'd probably end up in a bathroom stall trying to curb this carnal ache. That is, if it wasn't for this stupid chastity belt I was wearing. The metal straps were covered in leather and fit snugly around my waist and thighs. And the metal plate only allowed for necessary bodily functions, but prohibited other activities as per its design. To ensure the latter, a padlock was attached, and Sterling had the only key. I didn't even know they still made these things. Sterling told me he ordered it knowing at some point I'd break a rule, if for no other reason than being curious about what a punishment would be like. True to form, I intentionally broke the rules we discussed just to test him. My punishment was an uncomfortable night in this contraption. Sterling called it training. I asked him how he knew I'd even wear it. He said he had a gut feeling. Lucky me. Hot and bothered, I figured I'd take a walk during lunch and get some fresh air to calm myself down. When the elevator arrived, I leaned my shoulder against the wall as it descended to the ground level. Closing my eyes, I let out a slow, shaky sigh. I shifted slightly as my thoughts drifted back to the previous night. Coffee was the last thing I wanted. I slipped my tongue around the inside of my mouth, stirring my sensitive palate. My hands grazed the rough fabric of my wool slacks, and the friction against my thighs made me tingle from head to toe. What movement wouldn't cause pleasurable sensations to ripple through me? Every nerve was alive and excited. I felt like I was high on some potent aphrodisiac. What was happening to me? My phone buzzed in my pocket, and the vibration caused me to shiver. I checked the text. It was Sterling. Are you being a good girl? I ran a hand over my face. The frustration was real, and I wanted to ignore him. I could do just that. Turn off the phone and call this whole thing off. I wanted to tell him off, and at the same time, I wanted to give in to his every whim. My phone buzzed again. Need I remind you that ignoring my text is grounds for additional punishment? Is that what you want? My hands shook as I quickly texted back. No, sir. I apologize for the delay. Good girl. Meet me in my office after lunch. I have a conference call that you should sit in on. Yes, sir. I'll be there. I put my phone back into my pocket and crossed the street to my favorite deli. I needed to get it together before the meeting, and the best way to get my focus back was on a full stomach. This was going to be the longest day of my life. At 2:00 sharp, I tapped on Sterling's open office door with my notes for the meeting tucked under my arm. He waved me in without looking up from the papers on his desk. I crossed into the room, closing the door behind me. Lock it. I paused midway to the desk. Excuse me? Sterling reached toward the phone on his desk and pressed the intercom. Sheila, get Parker Donahue on the line and make sure that I'm not disturbed during this meeting. Yes, sir, the voice of Sterling's secretary replied through the speaker. Sterling looked in my direction for the first time and asked, do I need to repeat myself? That voice was back. The same tone he used while we played in the Lion's Den. That sexy, dominant voice that made me a total mess. No, Mr. Chambers, I replied. I turned around and locked the door, then crossed the room and sat in the chair in front of his desk. Sterling's eyes trailing me the whole way. Stand up. I placed my notes in the empty chair beside me and stood without protest. He smirked, then said, take off your clothes. I froze. If it had been later in the day or even one of our late night work sessions, I would have had no problem getting naked in his office. But it was midday and the building was fully staffed. My apprehension flashed across my face. I don't have all day, Stephanie. Or would you like to remain in your new present another night? That subtle threat got my attention. No, sir. No, sir, what? I don't want to spend another day in my new present. Then I suggest you do as you were told. Strip. I nervously glanced toward the door before removing my shoes, blouse, bra, and slacks. When I was done, I stood bare with the exception of the chastity belt covering my sex. Sterling moved the stack of papers in front of him and sat them on the far corner of the desk. Come here. I moved to the other side of the desk and stopped before him. He reached out and ran his fingers across the straps that secured the belt to my hips, and a jolt of electricity shot through me. Did you sleep well wearing your new present? No, sir, I answered honestly. You don't like it? No, sir. Sterling gripped the small padlock and tugged me closer. Do you want me to let you out? Yes, sir. Ask me to let you out. Please let me out, Mr. Chambers. Sterling pulled a small metal key from his shirt pocket just as the intercom crackled to life. Mr. Chambers, Mr. Donahue is online too. Thank you, Sheila, Sterling said, his green eyes trained on me. Will you be needing anything else before I head out, sir? No, Sheila, that will be all. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, sir. I'll see you in the morning. When the intercom clicked off, Sterling lifted me onto the desk. He spread my legs apart and pulled his chair up between them. The ridges on the inside of the metal plate pressed into my skin. The dull ache from earlier amplified into a deep throb. The muscles between my waist tightened almost painfully. Hands behind your back. I placed my hands behind my back as Sterling reached over to press the button to accept the waiting call. Parker, he said, it's about time you got back with me. A rich laugh came through the speaker. I could say the same for you, Sterling. You're a hard man to get a hold of. Sterling chuckled and adjusted himself in his chair, which drew my attention to his lap. I unconsciously licked my lips as I stared at the bulge growing beneath his zipper. He was tormenting me, and I was absolutely sure this was only the beginning. I have your proposal here as well as one of our junior partners, Stephanie Stone. Good day, Miss Stone, Parker greeted me. Good afternoon, Mr. Donahue. I know Sterling is a hard ass, but I hope he's been treating you well. I glanced up at Sterling and gave a nervous laugh. It's been a pleasure to learn from one of the best in the business. He definitely keeps me on my toes, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Reese, I'm going to have to stop you there, I'm afraid. I'm so sorry.
You was like, what?
Was it good?
I want to get to the part. I don't know if we joining or what are we doing here? Like, come on.
I know. I am so sorry. We're going to have to finish in just under a minute. Well, no, we've got about a minute left. And I didn't want you to
I have cages too. Like for you guys. You know, I have them in all colors, the cages. Just so you can have some. You should sell a cage with your thing. I'm just saying. Okay. I got you.
Listen, we're gonna add that with the towel that Sir Lawrence recommended last time.
What towel? Is it a wet towel? Like
a cleanup towel. We need a cleanup towel.
Oh, wait,
clean up on our three.
Okay, all jokes aside, y'all know, all jokes aside, there is because if you go to a hotel and stuff and you know how embarrassing it is when you wet all the way through the mattress, and even when they come change the sheets, it's wet. I'm sick of them when they look at you like that. They got a blanket. It's a sex blanket. It absorbs all the water, and it washes real quick, and you can take it with you and lay it on there, and you can use it over and over again.
Microfiber.
Yes, and it's a blanket that does that. But also, I have these little they're almost like tampons. They're looking like they just came out. After you have sex, like in a car or somewhere else, so the drip doesn't come down. It happens, and you can do it for the booty too. You stick it in, it absorbs all of the sperm or everything, and then you just put it in for 2 seconds, take it out, so it doesn't drip. I got you.
I love it. It's almost like a drug dealer, but for sex toys.
I'm going to tell you. I have to drive by.
I'll sort you out, sorry.
We got 1 minute.
You need a wet one? You need a dry one?
I got you. Y'all need, you know what I'm going to do in the chat? I'm going to put I'm going to put my number. Y'all just need to, you know what? Call you. Get my number. Y'all need to call me. I'm trying to tell you.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this now because what we're going to do is we're going to chat after this because I think we've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, but I can definitely give y'all some stuff that, we'll talk afterwards. You know what we're talking about.
I'm going to have to end it now, but I just want to say thank you so much. Yes, come back.
When I come back. So now I'm going to have to put a little short direction thing. I'm going to have to juice it, really juice it up for y'all. I got y'all.
All right.
Gotta hold on to your seats.
Peace. I will see you all soon. Bye.
Now this is time for free your mind and your soul. Yo, half the story has never been told. Ladies, you got to demand what you want, and what we want is respect, right? Yo, this is up on the track. I know so you have to feel that it right. Freedom every time for the sisters. Check this. Watch this.
Here we go now. Listen, if I'm boom boom rule, I be the ruler like Slick Rick. Get with this quick witted Adidas wearing chick. Papa got a brand new bag. Mama got a brand new Jag. Go tag. I ain't no old hag. I represent not only in the kitchen, in the bedroom, but also in the boardroom. So give me more room. Deny my opportunity, you in jeopardy. Yo, set me free, don't hinder me, let me be.
I'm fighting for freedom, I got the heat in case you need 'em. Straight soldier, ain't nobody told ya. Hold up on them lies, I know you game.